Hello everyone, I hope this day finds you well. I'm finally back from a 2-month hiatus and a little bit delayed because I had some technical problems with my laptop over the weekend, but I'm back nonetheless, and I'm starting off with a really exciting topic, which is crystals. As always, I want to state that everything I say is accurate to the best of my knowledge, and it is my current perspective, so feel free to comment and share your own if you feel I'm wrong, or especially if I need to correct something. Or even just want to say nice job. I've appreciated a lot of the positive feedback I've gotten so far. So with that said, off we go. Before I start, I also want to mention that when talking about crystals, the words crystals and stones are often used interchangeably, but they're always in reference to the same thing. I've found that most people use crystals to describe transparent ones, and stones to describe the more solid ones that aren't transparent. So that's how I've found they've been used typically. But they're the same thing. But that being said, just to clarify, crystals in and of themselves are amazing tools provided to us by the planet. They come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and they're all energized naturally deep within the Earth. Crystals have been used for thousands of years all across the planet, across all borders, cultures, and within each and every different place and culture that they're found in, they have all sorts of different meanings and purposes. Just to name a few, in Egypt, crystals were believed to provide protection and healing and can be found on all sorts of amulets, headdresses, and masks that have been found in the pyramids and tombs. A particular example that comes to mind is King Tut's famous mask, which has been found to be inlaid with lapis lazuli, carnelian, quartz, turquoise, and even obsidian. Buddhist monks have used crystals for hundreds of years for the healing ability and their ability to raise energy and feel of a room. Many of you probably know this as feng shui. The Vedas, which are these sacred texts in Hinduism that are thousands of years old, very intricately detail the specific powers of crystals and their specific uses for healing different parts of the body. Crystals are even mentioned in the Bible. In particular, an example that I have is in the book of Revelations. They're used to show God's divine power and the beauty for the city of Jerusalem, and it ties in both numerology and the crystals themselves. Revelations 21 verses 18 to 21. The wall was made of jasper and the city of pure gold, as pure as glass. The foundations of the city walls were decorated with every kind of precious stone. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third agate, the fourth emerald, the fifth onyx, the sixth ruby, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th turquoise, the 11th jacinth, and the 12th amethyst. The 12 gates were 12 pearls, each gate made of a single pearl. The great street of the city was of gold, as pure as transparent glass. I could go on for days with all sorts of cultural references in different areas of the planet, but like I said, I could go on for days, and these videos are long enough as they are. So, but I'm sure you guys get the idea, and if you're still interested in learning more about the history behind crystals, where exactly they're used, how they're used, just Google history of crystals, and you'll be set for weeks with reading material. I'll even provide a good summary source link below that you guys can check out if you want just quick bullet points on it. So, crystals are formed differently all across the globe based on the elements that are sitting around in that particular space, the pressure of where exactly they're sitting, the space available for them to form in, among other things. Some get pushed up to the surface of the Earth naturally by the shifting of the plates. Others get dug out naturally from as the environment chips away at the surface of the Earth. An example would be like a river cutting through a mountain. But typically crystals are mined from the Earth, and they're sold due to their beauty and beliefs that they hold natural energy manipulating abilities and healing properties. Now, before I get too deep into the meaning of crystals, I'd like to share a point with those who may be doubting that some stone could really have any kind of power, could really even change anything. So I'll give you a much more scientific standpoint on how I see these. Current science has told us that all matter has an atomic structure, and that structure is what defines the matter and gives it its characteristics. One characteristic this defines is how an applied force or energy moves through it. An example is if I smack my desk, the energy that I exert from my hand passes into the solid material of the desk, rattles the atoms in it, which then sends out more energy both underneath the desk, which displaces air molecules and causes a force to go out from underneath, but then it also sends a force back up into my hand. Now, how exactly that force moves through it is going to be dependent on the structural integrity of it, how solid of a material it is, or how hard it is, the shape of it. I mean, if it's a flat surface, the energy is going to be evenly distributed. If it's a pointed surface, it'd go right through my hand. If it's a rounded surface, it's probably going to angle off and probably shoot off the object in some direction. So those play into how the energy is, specifically how the energy is displaced. But that also affects how the energy moves through it. And different mediums, different surfaces, different types of materials will transfer energy differently. And and through some materials, when different types of energies are put into them, you also get different outputs of energies. So all sorts of energies, such as mechanical, thermal, electrical, electromagnetic, gravitational, strong and weak nuclear, chemical, and a handful of others, all adjust and interact with each other, and they all adjust, change, and tweak themselves based on how they're moving through all these different mediums and all these different solids, liquids, gases, and whatever form it is. And all this is specifically in the physical realm. So if nothing else, any skeptics out there can at the very least acknowledge that from a purely physical standpoint, there is a transfer and transformation of energy through these solid objects. Now, whether or not you believe in the unseen forces of it, that's going to be something else. But energy does transfer as they go through it. And current science does state that there are forces at work in the universe that we, especially currently, don't understand. And there's a lot of unseen forces that impact and adjust how the celestial bodies move and interact with one another. And again, while I acknowledge that I can't prove that these crystals have healing abilities or can energize different types of energies in your body, I've seen it through a lot of different of my own practices. I've seen it in other people, and a lot of people share in that experience as well. So whether there's actually some kind of energy work going on, or if it's just some kind of psychological trick, either way, there is an effect to them, and they can change a great deal of things. So, onto some meanings of them. While there does seem to be a general consensus about what different crystal types are and the meanings they have, in my studies I've discovered that oftentimes a crystal's power comes from the meaning that an individual gives to it, which again kind of plays into the psychological trick idea, but moving on. So the more intention and meaning a person gives to a particular crystal, the stronger the crystal will become and the more influence it'll have on the person. All sorts of meanings can come to the stones. The color on it, the pattern of the colors on it. Different crystals are associated with different chakra points. There's the formation process, how exactly it's formed. There's some stones that are formed deep within the earth. There's others that are made from a combination of different elements. There are even some which are some of the ones I find the coolest, which are classified as tektites, which are the combination of earth elements with meteorites that, when they smashed into the earth, the great deal of heat that radiated off of them fused both the surface that it hit and the materials in the meteor itself, and it forms this own unique crystal. And a lot of them are very glass looking, which is really, really cool. So if you're looking into crystals, that's always a really fun place to start. So, and again, all of these different things will change based on what perspective exactly you're looking at it from. But I found when you look at all these different perspectives, you'll find which one works for you, and that's typically the one you'll stick with. The system I typically use is a color chakra point based system, although it's not fully accurate because I kind of use it as a shortcut so I don't have to memorize what each and every individual one of my crystals are. It does typically work out, and when I combine it with the specific meanings of the crystals themselves, I get much stronger results. So the 7-color system, it goes in the order with the rainbow with the chakra points. So it's red for the root chakra, orange for the navel, yellow for the solar plexus, green for the heart, blue for the throat, indigo for the third eye, and violet for the crown. And like I said, I combine it with both that structured meaning to help focus on where exactly I'm trying to energize, but also with the specific meanings of the crystals to get specific intents. So a great example I can give of this is my bloodstone, and it's probably the stone I've bonded with the most. You can see it here, and should be some images flashing in front of you to show you. But the bloodstone itself has a very, very fitting name because it's very tied to a lot of things that are natural about me. The bloodstone itself is very closely tied to my star sign, which is Pisces, and it's a mixture of several different colors, but predominantly it's green and blue, which, like I said, green is the heart chakra, blue is the throat chakra, so that associates with the emotions of love and expression. It also has this yin-yang appearance to it, with blue on one side with a green dot on it. It has a yellow swirl dividing the two colors, and then the other side is green, which then has a blue dot on it. And when I first noticed it, I thought it was amazing, because the stone itself is also supposed to be a stone of grounding, and with the yin-yang symbol association, which also goes with Pisces in terms of balance and fluidity, combining it with the energies of love and expression, it's been an amazing stone for me. And I've spent so much time working with it. Like, I can picture it perfectly within my mind, down to the point where I know exactly what the pattern is on it, and I can tell you just by which surface it's sitting on my hand what the exact pattern is that you're going to look down at it. So in particular with my entire collection, I have about 300 individual crystals, but before you freak out and think I'm obsessed, a lot of them are super, super tiny ones, and the whole collection of 300 fits into this jar. And as you can see, it's half of this jar that fills it, with about 250 of them being right there, which are these really, really tiny ones. And you can see there's a whole bunch of different colors and patterns on the crystals. And I've done a lot of work studying individual meanings for each of them and learning more and more about each type. And the more I get into it, the easier it is to get more and more specific intent with them. So oftentimes I use the crystals to make patterns, which is why I have that 250 of the small ones, because having so many of them, I can make very, very detailed patterns. The patterns will vary from day to day, but they always serve me in some way, shape, or form. Some days I make patterns to energize particular crystals, and other times I make them to cleanse and energize a certain space, and other days I use them to enhance my meditations. Typically, my practice is I'll sit down for about an hour to make a pattern, and then I'll meditate for about an hour afterwards. And I've always found that when I make the patterns, the meditation itself is much more enhanced. One particular pattern that I'm very, very proud of was this 9-pointed star, and it plays off the idea of some numerology and expanding on the idea of a 6-pointed star for communication that I got from one of Bashar's seminars for communicating with other entities. I had success with the 6-pointed star, so I wanted to expand on it and make a 9-pointed star, which then is a trinity of triangles then contained within a circle to focus and concentrate the energy. It's then also split to make binary sections within the central triangle, and then the crystals I have around that also have specific meaning as well. Um, so the process of making the patterns is actually very, very relaxing, and it's a way that I've found that helps me calm myself down, remove any thoughts from the day, and helps me get much deeper into my meditations, like I said. Um, and there's some times where I go into it with this specific idea and pattern in mind, and then I go and make it. And then other times, I'll just put all my crystals out in front of me, and I'll just start moving them in whatever way feels best. It's a bit hard to describe, but it's kind of like the crystals are telling me themselves where they need to be placed for the day, and they always have some kind of pattern to them. If you'd like to see more of my patterns, I'll put a link to my Pinterest below in the description, and you can check that out. I update it every few weeks with a bunch of new patterns that I've made, and they all have different intents with them as well, which I put underneath. Other stuff that you can do with crystals is make spirit water, which is where you leave a crystal sitting in a glass of water for 12 24 hours or more if you'd like, to energize and harmonize the water itself. Every time I've done this, I always can tell the difference between the spirit water and regular water, and the water itself tastes different. There's a different feel to it. It actually feels very, very smooth going down, and I always feel much more energized after drinking it rather than just with regular water. Crystals also make great gifts. There's nothing like giving a crystal to your friends to say, here, some positive intention and energy. Even better if you know how to do some energy work and charge the crystals yourself with particular intense meaning or focus for it to even help make it easier for the person to work with it. I've even given away crystals just on the street as thank you for a small act of kindness that somebody did for me. Like, there was a big hassle over winter break for me back in December where I was flying back home, and it was a giant headache because there was fog and the plane got diverted, and it was a giant headache trying to get another flight, and the desk attendant was very, very kind and managed to get me situated where she was turning other people away just because they were getting angry up in her face and making things very, very difficult for her. But I went up very positively, was saying, look, I know this isn't your fault, can you just help me out? And she ended up getting me situated very, very quickly. So I gave her one of my agate crystals and told her the meaning behind it, and she was very, very happy to receive it. And I saw her smiling as I walked away, knowing that her day was going to be a little bit easier with it. I even give them away on the street when people are asking for change. I'm not a big fan of giving away money just because, one, I don't have a lot of it myself right now, and I've seen a lot of people abuse asking for handouts and doing other things with it. So I've given a couple of them away on the street, and I tell the people asking for change the meaning behind it, what the particular stone is really, really good for, and what they can do with it. And I found a lot of them also respond very positively to it, and I see them smiling when I walk away. So those of you who are interested in getting into crystals, I'd advise you look into tumbled stones to start with. They're a lot less expensive. Like, in particular, this Merkaba lapis lazuli cost me about $20. Whereas when I initially started getting into crystals, I got 24 of these smaller tumbled stones for the same price. So I'd advise you test out the tumbled stone first to really see if crystals are going to be your thing before you just dive headfirst into it. I also advise that you go and handpick them out. It's quite an experience just picking them out. A lot of New Age shops will have them, or a lot of bookstores have them too. And you'll find that certain crystals will just reach out and grab you. Like I said, the bloodstone was one of them that had just kind of called out to me, and when I saw it, I instantly knew I was going to get it. And when I was picking out the set too, I didn't notice till later, but all the crystals had a very similar theme to them. all of them that I had picked out, I had seen some sort of celestial body in, whether it was a nebula, some star. Others looked like there was one in particular that looked like craters in a moon. So they all kind of had that feel to it, which was really cool to see afterwards. So, like I said, going and handpicking them out is a really cool experience, but you can also order them offline, which is a great way to get them much, much cheaper as well. Etsy in particular, I get a lot of mine off of because they're people selling their own collections, and they're not too many people are looking to really, really profit off of them. So you can get really, really good deals on them and see a lot of really unique and really cool crystal collections as well. A bit on the properties of crystals. If you are going to start practicing with them, you do need to do some research on the specific stone that you are getting, because that's going to tell you the best way to take care of it. Some crystals you cleanse with water. Others, if you put them in water, will dissolve before your eyes. I found that warning online, and literally moments before I was about to go stick a couple of them in water, and I was very glad that I did. And some will ruin the finish on them as well, and you don't want that because it'll take away from the shine. Others you'll need to put specifically in the sun to charge, and others you want to put under the moon. A lot of the purple crystals you don't want to leave out in the sun because they'll lose a lot of their color. I mean, which isn't terrible, but I think that's a lot of the appeal of each stone, is being able to look at it and know instantly what it is by its color. What else? Oh, also there's even some crystals that you charge with other crystals. So you can actually even charge and energize them yourself once you know how to do some energy work with your own body. Just keep in mind it is going to leave you a bit drained and tired afterwards, but depending on what your purpose is with it, you'll find it's very much worth it. Keep in mind that crystals are a bit like batteries and also like filters. They're like batteries, meaning they need to be charged in order to keep supplying energy, and they're like filters because they can get dirty. Some crystals, one that comes to mind is malachite. Malachite is a great stone for removing negativity, but it gets cluttered up with negativity very, very, very quickly. I usually have to cleanse and energize this one about once a day when I'm using it. So it's, and like a filter, if it gets dirty, it's just going to start circulating back dust and other negative things back into the air, and that's not what you want. So, like I said, look into the different crystals so you know how to maintain and upkeep them, so it's not going to be a problem, and you're not going to all of a sudden start seeing them negatively influence you. But how you use crystals is 100% up to you. There is no right or wrong way to do it. I encourage you to look into various practices and purposes behind them to find, just for guidelines on some ideas to how to start. But afterwards, you'll start finding your own ways that you use them, what ways they serve you best, and what method specifically works best for you. If you have any crystals, patterns you've made, or things you use them for, feel free to share. I'd love to hear it. I'd love seeing how others use crystals, how they've affected them, or even seeing some really cool, unique pieces. So, yeah. Thanks as always again, guys. Namaste.